Good morning. So, uh, Overnight, did a second round of filler on the headstock, and I think once that's sanded back, that's going to look completely fine. And everything else is pretty well ready. So I think today we have good weather, so we are outside again, obviously. And today we're going to be painting.
Hey Dad, you should make something cool.
And welcome back to the project. We are continuing with the kit build for my project manager. Last time we prepped the body and carved the headstock. Today, I'm starting by doing the shaping on the section of headstock that I filled at the end of the last episode. It's just a quick knockback of the filler, and we'll be ready for prime and paint. Now, the neck is going to be just a plain wood finish, so I'm going to mask off the entire neck. And the neck joint is snug enough that I don't want to get any paint onto it, so I'm going to mask that off as well. For the record, I pieced this spray mount together on the fly, and obviously I made the mounting plate way too long. Oh well, I'm going to have to roll with it for the moment. I prefer to spray outside as it's quite dangerous spraying near the furnace in the shop. That said, there's enough wind today that I need to keep the can closer to the piece just to get the paint to its destination. The effect of this is that it's harder to get even coverage, so I'm expecting to need multiple coats to get this looking correct. The technique is fairly straightforward. Run the spray side to side, starting before the piece and ending past the end, while staying square to the surface. The curved edges are treated in very much the same way. Keep square to the surface while following the curve. And I'm going to be giving the paint about an hour to dry before the next coat. On the upside, the color paint I'm using is a paint and primer in one, so I'm actually skipping the second coat of primer. Again, I'm using the same technique, staying square to the surface, following the contours, and then straight lines overlapping by about 50%. Once it's had a couple hours to dry, I'm going to smooth the surface over with some 400 grit sandpaper. I use the orbital to cover the large areas and then hand sand the curves. Whoops. You can't tell it in the time lapse, but I just sanded through the color coat. I'm going to have to remask and spray it out again. While that dries, I can finish the sanding. Now I'm applying the second layer of color, and this is going to serve two purposes. The first is to thicken and smooth the color coat. The second is to provide a wet surface to embed the glitter coat into. Yes, I know, glitter. Guess I'll have to burn the house down and start over. The good news is that the sun came out in time for me to spray the glitter coat. The sun lets me see very clearly not only where the glitter has been applied, but how dense the coat is. This will result in a fairly even layer, and it should look pretty good. Now I'm going to let this sit and dry for a week, and when we come back, we'll be ready to start applying our clear coat.